He thought he was just chasing his neighbor, but instead, he walks straight into the path of a predator that's been feeding on humans for thousands of years. It all starts in a quiet little suburb just outside Las Vegas, where every single house looks so alike it's almost creepy. Inside one of them, a small dog slips in through the pet door, trotting past a huge TV blaring the local news about a string of strange attacks. People keep saying someone's been trying to bite them in parking lots and other random places. The camera drifts away from the TV and suddenly, the dog freezes, sensing something wrong, and that's when we see it. A boy is thrown out of a bedroom like a rag doll, and inside the room a woman is being ripped apart by something we can't quite see. The boy stumbles to his parents' room, only to find both of them lying dead and soaked in blood. He panics and slides under the bed, grabbing his dad's gun. The thing in the other room drags his father's body away. The boy's hands shake too much and a part of the gun clinks to the floor, and he notices that the body is gone. It snatches up the fallen piece and turns toward him. The boy tries to hold his breath, but it's useless as the creature spots him and moves in to tear him apart. Next, we meet Charlie, a high school kid in Clark County, Nevada, struggling to push his busted motorcycle down the street toward home. He greets his neighbor Doris and offers her a hand before heading up his driveway, where his mom Jane is standing. She's already whining about their new neighbor, who's been unloading piles of concrete in his driveway for no clear reason.
It's an eyesore. I'm trying to get people to move in, not join the Legion's leaving town.
Before Charlie can say much, his girlfriend Amy pulls up to take him to school. Later, in class, the teacher calls roll and a lot of kids are missing, including one of Charlie's best friends Adam, the same Adam who was attacked earlier. Later that day, Charlie is hanging out by his locker when his old friend Ed pulls him aside. Ed looks stressed and tells him Adam has gone missing and hasn't been answering his calls, and he thinks they should check on him that night. Charlie hesitates because ever since he started dating Amy, he's been hanging out with the popular crowd, while Ed and Adam are stuck with the loser label. Instead of helping Ed, Charlie decides to go on his date with Amy. That evening, as Amy drops him off, Charlie spots his mom in the driveway laughing and flirting with their new neighbor Jerry. They walk over to say hello and introduce themselves, but Jerry soon heads back inside. When Charlie checks his phone, he finds a furious message from Ed, threatening to spill every embarrassing childhood secret Charlie has if he bails on him. Not wanting that, Charlie hurries over to Adam's place, where Ed is already waiting. They knock, but nobody answers, so they break in and quietly move through the dark, silent house. Ed seems completely on edge and suddenly blurts out that Jerry is a vampire.
That is a terrible vampire name, Jerry. Hey man, I'm just reporting the facts.
Charlie thinks it's ridiculous, but Ed swears he and Adam have been investigating for a while. He says they're certain, pointing out that Jerry's windows are covered in thick black material so no sunlight can get through. Ed warns Charlie to never let Jerry into his house, because vampires can't enter without an invitation. Charlie rolls his eyes and the two start arguing about how Charlie has changed since ditching them for the cool kids, who Ed says are nothing but fakes.
I get it. You're so cool, Brewster. Shut up.
When Ed talks trash about Amy, Charlie loses it. Later, Ed rides his skateboard home, but the school bully Mark jumps out and tries to mess with him. Ed ditches the board and climbs over a fence to escape, landing in someone's backyard, only to find Jerry standing there in the shadows. Panicked, Ed breaks into the house, thinking Jerry can't follow without being invited, but Jerry steps right inside and Ed realizes the place must be abandoned. Jerry says he knows Ed has been spying on him. Ed bolts upstairs, races onto the roof, and leaps out a window, but Jerry is already waiting outside. Ed crashes into a swimming pool, gasping for air, and Jerry tells him to relax because what's coming will be good for him. His voice almost sounds like it's inside Ed's head, pulling away his fear and doubt.
You were born for this. You know it. It's a gift.
Before Ed can move, Jerry sinks his fangs into his neck. The next day at school, Charlie notices Ed is nowhere to be found. After classes, he heads over to Ed's house, only to find his parents there. They greet him warmly, and he asks if he can go upstairs, pretending he just needs to borrow a book. In Ed's room, he discovers a website for a so-called vampire hunter named Peter Vincent, along with a series of videos Ed secretly filmed right outside Jerry's house. In one of them, Jerry's car door swings open and shut by itself, but Jerry's reflection is nowhere to be seen. The sight sends a cold shiver through Charlie as he is forced to admit Ed was right. When Charlie gets home, he finds Jerry standing at his doorstep, acting casual and saying he needs a favor. He claims there's a girl at his place but no beer left, and asks if Charlie has a six-pack. Charlie says he does, trying not to sound nervous, and Jerry walks right up to the threshold but does not step inside. Charlie rummages through the fridge, his back prickling under Jerry's gaze, and in his rush, a bottle slips and smashes on the floor. Jerry offers to help clean it up, but Charlie, forcing a smile, says he can handle it. After handing Jerry the beer, he shuts the door quickly and heads upstairs, where Amy is waiting. Charlie's thoughts are still tangled in the strange evidence from earlier, but Amy moves closer, trying to be affectionate. When she notices his mind is somewhere else, Amy gets annoyed. Charlie makes things worse by suddenly jumping up and rushing to the window. Down the street, Jerry's date has arrived and Charlie freezes as it's Doris, one of their neighbors. Jerry glances up toward Charlie's window, and in a panic, Charlie shoves Amy back toward the bed, startling her. She stares at him, confused and angry, and storms out.
To look out the window at the neighbors and have fun with your neighborhood watch thing.
That night, Charlie is jarred awake by the sharp sound of a woman screaming. Charlie panics and calls 911. Soon the police arrive at Jerry's house, but Jerry smooth talks his way out of the situation by saying that he simply made a woman scream out of pleasure, even giving the officers a smug smile. Charlie watches from a distance, disgusted as Jerry charms his way out of any suspicion. The moment the police leave, Jerry slides into his car and drives away into the dark. Terrified for Doris, Charlie slips into Jerry's house, moving as quietly as possible while his heart pounds in his ears. The place is dim and strange, filled with shadows that seem to stretch too far. In Jerry's study, he spots an odd occult insignia carved into wood, something that looks old and dangerous, so he quickly snaps a photo for proof. Before he can dig deeper, he hears the front door opening. Jerry is back. Charlie's pulse spikes and he ducks into a closet, pressing himself against the wall. To his shock, there is a hidden door in the back of the closet. It leads to a hallway lined with strange chambers. Most of them were empty, but one is locked tight. Curious and worried, he peers through the small hole in the door and freezes. It was Doris, looking pale and terrified. He grabs a screwdriver and fumbles to pick the lock, but before he can finish, Jerry's footsteps echo closer. Charlie melts back behind one of the doors, holding his breath. Through the crack, he watches Jerry drag Doris out. Her voice is faint but urgent as she tells Charlie not to make a sound. Then Jerry sinks his teeth into her neck, drinking deeply as she goes limp in his grip. When he is done, he tosses her back into the chamber like she is nothing more than a broken doll, then walks away toward the living room. Charlie rushes to finish the lock, and finally the door clicks open. Doris stumbles out, and together they creep toward the stairs. Down below, Jerry is sitting on the couch watching TV. They slip past, keeping low, until Jerry suddenly walks into the kitchen, hitting Charlie like a punch to the gut. But he is only grabbing an apple, and a moment later Jerry is back in front of the TV. Seizing the chance, Charlie guides Doris to the front door, unaware that Jerry is watching them with a sly smile. They make it outside, and daylight spills over them. For a moment, Charlie thinks they are safe, until Doris steps into the sunlight and bursts into flames, her body disintegrating in a violent flash of ash and smoke. Jerry hears it from inside and smiles, while Charlie stands frozen, horrified by what he just saw. Back home, he warns his mother to stay away from Jerry and to never, under any circumstances, invite him inside, leaving her confused and suspicious.
I think I can handle myself.
Mom, please, I'm serious. Don't acknowledge him. Don't talk to him.
The next day at school, Charlie's mind is set on one thing: finding the vampire hunter from Ed's computer, Peter Vincent. His search leads him to a flashy theater, where Peter performs an over-the-top stage show about killing vampires. After the scene, Peter is fuming at the crew, complaining that a shot in the show was sloppy and beneath his standards.
Look! Get me some professionals, alright?
Charlie decides to pose as a reporter to get close to Peter Vincent, and the plan works as Peter agrees to meet him in his luxury apartment. Peter's assistant leads Charlie inside, and the place looks like a goldmine of supernatural hunting gear, with shelves lined with strange weapons and relics. At first, Charlie thinks he has finally found real help, but when he asks how to kill a vampire, Peter rattles off a bunch of random methods in a careless tone.
Well, you got fire, beheading, you can make him a big garlicky omelette.
Clearly unsure if any of them would actually work.
Well, how the should I know?
As Peter pours himself a drink, Charlie's frustration boils over and he admits that a vampire has taken his friend, begging him to take the situation seriously. Peter asks the vampire's name, and when Charlie says it is Jerry, Peter bursts out laughing, mocking the name for sounding far too ordinary. Charlie ignores the joke and pulls out a print of the strange occult insignia he found in Jerry's house, but Peter brushes it off, calls him insane, and orders his assistant to throw him out. Refusing to give up, Charlie heads home and turns his bedroom into a fortress, hanging garlic, placing crosses, and carving wooden stakes by hand. Outside, the school bullies Mark and Ben watch from the yard, pointing and whispering about how paranoid he looks. They never get a chance to keep laughing as Jerry walks right up to them, and in less than a minute both are attacked. Inside, Charlie is still sharpening stakes when Amy shows up. She demands to know why he has been acting so strange and says she is tired of being ignored, telling him she loves him. Before Charlie can explain, there is a knock at the door. Jerry's voice calls out, asking Jane to hand over her son. Jane starts toward the door, but Charlie stops her and begs her not to open it. Jerry's tone hardens as he says he knows Charlie broke into his house. Jane's eyes widen at the revelation, but she chooses to trust her son and tells Jerry to leave. Jerry walks away, only to return carrying a shovel. Jane thinks it is some kind of weird joke between the two.
This is the joke for Amy, right? Like, I can't believe Jerry to go along with it.
But Jerry's face is cold and furious. Without a word, he starts digging in their backyard, shoveling until he reaches the buried gas line. He slices it open and sets it alight. The moment the gas catches, a roaring blast rips through the fireplace, fire and debris bursting into the room. Charlie, Jane, and Amy dive behind the couch as flames race through the house. Jerry moves toward the window with a cruel smile and says that a vampire does not need an invitation if there is no house left to protect. With the house still in flames behind them, Charlie, Jane, and Amy scramble into the car and speed away. The house burns in flame as they race down the road, the firelight fading in the rearview mirror. But the relief lasts only seconds as Jerry tries to chase after them, riding Charlie's motorcycle, but the front wheel is damaged, so he hurls the bike straight at their car, the heavy metal slamming against the hood and making Amy jump in her seat. Charlie tries to calm Amy and explains to his mother that Jerry is a vampire, but Jane refuses to believe a word of it.
Oh, okay, enough with the vampires!
Really?
The conversation ends abruptly when Jerry's truck slams into their rear bumper, jolting the whole vehicle forward. He swerves beside them and crashes into the side, metal grinding against metal, then speeds ahead and blocks the road entirely. Jane panics, but Charlie shouts at her to floor it. She grips the wheel and rams him head on, the impact throwing Jerry over the hood as they tear past him. For a moment, the road is clear again, until Jane hears a heavy thud beneath the car. Before anyone can react, claws burst through the floor, Jerry's vampire hands ripping through the metal as he clings to the underside. His voice is gone now, replaced by snarls, his face warped into its monstrous true form. Charlie kicks at him again and again while Jane slams the brakes, hoping to shake him off. But before they can recover, another vehicle crashes into them from behind. The furious driver gets out, yelling about the damage, only to freeze when Jerry emerges from under the car. In seconds, Jerry lifts their vehicle, sets his eye on his new prey and sinks his fangs into the man's neck. Blood runs down the driver's shirt as his body goes limp, and Jerry casually drops him down, shifting back into his human form. Charlie steps forward, gripping a large cross, and tells Jane and Amy to run. He moves in slowly, holding the cross out between them. Jerry acts like he's pulling away in fear, but then snatches it from Charlie's hand. Only when the cross touches Jerry's skin does it hiss and burn, then throws him at the car like he is some doll and jumps at him in an instant. Jerry mocks the way humans always miss the heart when trying to stake a vampire, the real reason why he could survive all these years, and smiles with cold amusement. Before Jerry can finish him, Jane comes from behind, shoving a metal road sign through his side. The vampire lets out a piercing shriek, staggering away as his face twists in pain. But Jane collapses from exhaustion, and Charlie and Amy quickly lift her. Hurrying to the dead driver's car, Charlie starts the engine and rams it into their own overturned family car, sending it crashing down on top of Jerry with a loud crunch. They drive off into the dark, Jane groaning softly in the back seat, but Jerry's mangled body begins to twitch, his bones shifting and snapping back into place. At the hospital, the police show up asking what happened, but Charlie keeps his mouth shut because he knows they would never believe the truth. Somewhere else, Peter Vincent is staring at the printout Charlie had left at his office earlier, and for the first time he realizes Charlie wasn't messing with him at all. He calls Charlie and tells him to come over. Before leaving, Charlie fills Jane's room with crosses and rushes out. When Charlie and Amy finally arrive at Peter Vincent's place, he lets them in and starts talking. He explains that the strange symbol on the paper belongs to a powerful vampire bloodline that came from the Mediterranean. These vampires nest in the ground and kill slowly, keeping their victims alive for days just so they can turn them into vampires too.
Look, how do we kill these guys? This tribe?
You two, you don't.
Vincent warns them that Charlie has no chance of winning, as killing one of these monsters would take an army. Suddenly, Vincent gets a call saying there's a package delivery. He tells his girlfriend to go grab it and lets the delivery guy in. But it's a trap. The delivery guy is Ed, now fully turned into a vampire. He tosses the package to Vincent, calls Jerry and promises to finish the job. Charlie tries to talk him into only killing him and letting the others go, but Ed isn't listening. Vincent grabs a crucifixion nail to threaten him.
Stay away, demon.
Oh, is that an itchy bitchy little sticky for me?
It's a crucifixion nail, it's lethal to you.
But then completely panics and runs cowardly as Ed chases him. Just when Ed is about to grab him, the sliding door closes and slices Ed's arm clean off. While Vincent is sniveling in his escape room, Charlie and Amy find Vincent's girlfriend lying dead near the entrance. They also see that the elevator controls are smashed, so there's no way out except finding another path. With no better option, they duck behind a tall shelf while Ed hunts for them. When he gets close, they shove the shelf over onto him. Charlie grabs the nearest blade and tells Amy to run. Ed gets up and slams him into the wall, choking him, but Charlie fights back, rips an axe from the wall display, and swings wildly until the blade buries itself deep into Ed's throat. On the other side of the apartment, Amy grabbed a gun loaded with silver bullets just as Jerry came through the door, his shadow stretching like something alive. She fired again and again, but the bullets barely slowed him down because they were made for werewolves, not him. Thinking fast, she spotted the Holy Grail on the shelf, snatched it, and splashed holy water straight into his face. Jerry roared in pain, stumbling back for a moment, smoke curling from his skin. But Ed wasn't dead like they thought. His neck twisted back into place with a sickening crack, and he lunged for Charlie, pinning him to the ground, his fangs inches from Charlie's throat. Amy charged forward, swinging a heavy flail, and smashed him across the side of the head. Ed staggered, but when he came at them again, Charlie, shaking with hesitation, drove a stake deep into his heart. For a brief moment, Ed's monstrous form faded, and the boy Charlie once knew looked at him with tired eyes and told him it was okay. Then his body turned to ash, drifting away in the air. Amy barely had time to breathe before she whispered that Jerry was here. They bolted through a door into a crowded nightclub, but Jerry was already recovering from the holy water. The flashing lights and pounding music swallowed them, and the crowd pushed them apart. Jerry's eyes locked on Amy, and before she could escape, he was beside her, his voice dripping with a strange power that wrapped around her mind. She drank from his wrist, her body going limp as he pulled her into a kiss. Charlie tried to fight through the crowd, but a security guard grabbed him, dragging him away. Helpless, he could only watch as Jerry sank his fangs into Amy's neck. Later, Charlie returned to Peter Vincent's apartment, only to find him packing a suitcase. Vincent admitted he had never killed a vampire before. His collection of vampire-killing weapons was nothing more than a coping mechanism, a way to feel safe after his parents had been slaughtered by a monstrous vampire. Charlie swore he would kill Jerry, but Vincent only shook his head, handing over a special stake said to turn a vampire's victims back into humans if the original vampire was destroyed. Charlie asked him to fight alongside him, but Vincent refused, saying survival mattered more and that going against Jerry was suicide.
Look, you want to be a dead hero? Good for you. I'm out.
Even so, Vincent gave him one last piece of advice.
Torch him. A vampire on fire is not thinking clearly.
Charlie storms into a dusty old thrift store and grabs everything he thinks might help him take Jerry down, stuffing his arms with weapons and gadgets until he finds his prize, a crossbow.
Gonna kill a vampire. Good for you.
He doesn't waste a second. Soon he's standing outside Jerry's creepy house, smashing every window he can so that sunlight can pour in and burn the monster from the inside out. The sound of shattering glass echoes like gunfire. Inside, he creeps through a dim chamber and spots Amy, but before he can reach her, she's ripped away into the shadows. He runs after her but ends up stumbling right into Peter Vincent, who is now armed to the teeth and surprisingly here to help. Together, they notice something strange under the spot where Amy was. A hidden floor trap. Without thinking, they drop down into the darkness below. They creep through a narrow hallway as the air was cold and damp, passing a heavy wooden door, never realizing Jerry is silently stalking them from behind. In one swift move, Jerry yanks Peter off his feet. Charlie fires his crossbow, but Jerry casually snatches the arrow midair like it's nothing. The vampire slams the door shut, locking Charlie out and trapping himself with Peter. Jerry's eyes burn as he taunts Peter, hinting that he was the one who murdered Peter's parents all those years ago. Peter's hands shake as he fires at Jerry, but the bullets might as well be paper. They do nothing. With a lazy flick, Jerry sends a pebble flying into Peter's forehead, drawing blood. The smell of it awakens something worse. All around, the soil walls begin to shift, and young vampires crawl out like pale spiders, their eyes glowing with hunger. On the other side of the basement, Charlie finds Amy again, but she's not the same. Her eyes are cold, her mind completely swallowed by the vampire's will. She slams him to the floor, fangs glinting in the dim light. Across the room, Peter blasts away at the crawling vampires with his special shotgun, taking down several before it gets jammed and broken. Amy leans close, whispering about how they could be together forever, and opens her mouth wide to bite. At the last moment, Charlie drives his stake into her chest, but misses her heart on purpose. Charlie forces the heavy door open, and the moment his eyes lock onto Peter struggling for his life, he raises his crossbow and fires at the ceiling, shattering chunks of wood and letting thin spears of sunlight pour through, bathing himself in the light while trying to drive the monsters back. But the rays are too weak and the young vampires keep closing in, their faces twisted with hunger, one of them being Mark, the same high school bully who used to shove him into lockers, now snarling like an animal. Jerry steps out of the shadows, his voice dripping with mockery, taunting Charlie for thinking he could just stroll in and wipe out 4 centuries of power with nothing but a crossbow. He circles like a predator, claiming he can smell Charlie's fear and pressing deeper into his mind, throwing Amy into the mix, describing how perfect her scent was, how sweet the taste.
Now that was exquisite. She makes me feel young again.
Even thanking Charlie for delivering her to him before pulling her close and kissing her in front of him. It is then that Charlie notices something far worse. Peter's skin is starting to sizzle under the light, and thin tendrils of smoke curl from him. He has been bitten, the transformation creeping through him. With Jerry's attention still on his cruel game, Charlie snatches Peter's lighter, flicks the flame to life, and sets himself ablaze, the fire roaring around him but not touching his skin, revealing that his suit was fireproof the entire time. He launches himself at Jerry, wrapping his arms around him like a burning trap, and Jerry screams in rage as the two crash into the ceiling, breaking apart wood and plaster. Peter sees the opening, grabs the rifle, and fires at the roof, ripping more sunlight into the room until it floods in like a tidal wave, scorching Jerry's skin. Peter tosses the wooden stake to Charlie, who drives it deep into Jerry's chest. The ancient vampire's body twists and burns, his face disintegrating into ash before his entire form bursts apart in a violent explosion of dust. The souls of the turned humans are ripped free from his curse, swirling like smoke before vanishing, and the young vampires collapse to the ground, returning to their human forms with no memory of the horrors they've just been part of. Charlie's strength gives out, and he becomes unconscious, but when his eyes finally open again, the fight is over. Jerry is gone and they have won.